10 worst defenders in the NBA. I've never watched this channel, I think. I don't know. On in sports, but I don't know, honestly. But who are the 10 worst defenders in the NBA? Who's the worst defender you could think of? Let me know. Let me know in the chat right now. So I can see who make this list. Who are the worst defenders I could think of? Kevin Knox was a pretty bad defender, but I feel like, I don't know if he's going to just name defenders that, Trae Young is a pretty bad defender. Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't say Harden. Harden's picked it up. You know, I don't know if he's doing this season, but he's old. You know, he can get away with it.
Russell Westbrook. If we had to describe...
Yeah, that's definitely how you start off a video this week. Yeah,
Westbrook's defense with 2 words. Those words would be fake hustle. If you watch him play for 2 or 3 possessions, it may seem like he's trying hard on defense. But if you watch an entire quarter or a whole game, it's obvious that he's a defensive disaster. Westbrook is criticized so much for being an inefficient shooter and poor decision maker offensively, but it's his sins on defense.
We definitely got to find a Russell Westbrook video to watch with everything's been going on.
First-class ticket to basketball hell. Why? Because it's okay to miss a shot and make a turnover, but some of his
why is he showing offense?
Are just due to a complete lack of focus or effort. Westbrook will often just...
What's he gonna do there?
Defensive woes are just due to a...
Is he gonna box out a 7-footer?
Complete lack of focus or...
I mean, hey, I guess he did average 10 rebounds, 12 like 3 times.
And watch a play develop without a single care in the world, completely neglecting his defensive assignments. After a turnover, Russ jogs back to defense instead of running back and gets
the evidence proven
and doesn't fight back to cover the opposing guard.
We already knew this though.
Leaves the defense scrambling and covering for his mistakes.
But here's the thing, there's probably worse. I thought maybe he'd go a little more. He is a very bad NBA defender, but there probably is worse. It's just that he plays so much. He started becoming more and more worse defender as time went on because he just was so focused on having to carry his team on the offensive side of the floor. I think he just lost it. Like he just lost it, stopped trying on defense. I don't know, but because I feel like he definitely could try more now. It could become a focal. He actually had a very good defensive stretch the other day against the Clippers against Kawhi. They threw the same pass to Kawhi twice and he stole it from him both times.
There are the fake hustle plays that make every Laker fan sick to their stomach. Russ will leave a player wide open and then he'll jump in his general direction with his hands up, even though he's more than 6 feet away.
This guy's got to be a Lakers fan.
Hell that he blocks the shot. Under coach Frank Vogel, the Lakers finished 3rd in defense.
I do like hearing this guy though, like express his opinions a little bit, because I feel like a lot of these NBA channels, they'll just feel like I'm watching a robot expressing like fact-based things.
Rating in 2020,
like at least throw a little bit of both.
Defense in the NBA in 2021. In 2022, they stupidly traded away Alex Caruso, who was
gonna say a Knicks player and be pissed off and say to shut up and tell me stats.
The result was that they ranked only 21st in defensive rating with the same coach. To be fair, it's partly because of injuries to LeBron and Anthony Davis and signing old geezers who can't defend. DeAndre Jordan is a walking corpse, a shell of his former self, and he really shouldn't be playing NBA basketball anymore. Carmelo Anthony is still really fun to watch on offense, but for every bucket he makes, he immediately gives up one on the other end. Melo was never a great defender, and now that he's older, he can't guard a chair. But still, the point guard is the first line of defense, and the Lakers got themselves one of the most overrated, most overpaid, and most lackadaisical defensive point guards in the world. When they had Caruso, they had real hustle. Replacing it with fake hustle was one of the worst decisions in recent franchise history.
This was like an Ice Cube diss track.
When he first came to the NBA, the biggest question mark around Trae Young was his size and his defensive output. After we've seen him play for 4 years, that's still the biggest Achilles heel of his game. Trae can light it up from deep. His floaters are arguably the best in the NBA right now, and he's a magician in the pick and roll. But Trae is still a small,
I love when Trae jumps when he throws a lob to somebody.
Young will never get taller, but he has to get to a point where he gives consistent effort and not compromise his team by not following defensive assignments, not rotating, or being out of position. Too often, his defensive effort is non-existent. Atlanta's defensive rating is 105.7 when he is off the floor, but 114.7 when he's on it. Of course, Young was not the only issue for the Hawks. Danilo Gallinari is far from a defensive stopper, and the same goes for Lou Williams.
So I think this video was just released today. It's not like old video or something.
With DeJounte Murray on board,
he's just mentioning players. Yeah,
the Hawks should improve by default, but we still want to see more hustle from Trae. Domantas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis has many great qualities. He's a great rebounder, post scorer, and passer, and is extremely efficient. He is a
I was thinking about this the other day.
All-star due to his offensive production, but that doesn't
watching
mask
Tyrese
the fact
cook.
that he's one of the
I'm like,
worst
dang. I'm like, you traded for dude you're playing at
in the
center and he can't even play defense.
Verticality and quick feet are not in Sabonis' dictionary, and he couldn't guard the basket if his life depended on it. Domas is a center that averages just 0.4 blocks per game. When he was with the Pacers, Indiana allowed 107 points per 100 possessions, an equivalent to a top 10 defense, but that was mostly because of Miles Turner, arguably the best shot blocker in the game. With Sabonis on the floor, without Turner, the floodgates open, and the Pacers are blocker in the game. With Sabonis on the floor,
yo, this is one of the saddest defensive just repertoires displays
Turner,
in
the
history.
Floodgates open.
Oh my god!
And the Pacers allow blocker in the game. With Sabonis on the floor,
I just need to see it one more time because he does nothing to guard. Is that Devontae or Terry? I think it's Devontae going to the basket. And then LaMelo says, "Hey, how you doing?"
And the Pacers allowed 113 points per 100.
Okay, well,
equivalent to the fourth.
That is funny though.
In the league.
I remember Kristaps. He did that to Kristaps, LeBron.
And is great at defending the post against bulky centers. Rim protection and the ability to switch and pick and roll are the most important defensive attributes in modern basketball. And those are the areas where he doesn't rank high. Other than Sabonis, there are plenty of other centers who are not good at defending the rim. Jonas Valanciunas is one to be mentioned here, as well as Enes Kanter, Cody Zeller, Tristan Thompson, and two Nicolas, Jokic and Vucevic.
You know what's funny? Oh my god! You know what's funny? Though about like the whole Tyrese and DeMontis situation is that nobody ever talked about Tyrese until that day he got traded, and it's just funny. That's not the funny part. The funny part is that people were calling the Kings garbage consistently, and never being oh, but Tyrese is nice. No, yo, you're just trash. And then the second he gets traded to the Pacers, oh yeah, no, they're doing it big, lavish over there. It's pretty funny, but they are still stupid for drafting Davion Mitchell. Let's be honest. The fact that put them in the scenario to have to trade Tyrese. I saw my cousin the other day. He's a big basketball dude. He was like, oh yeah, no, De'Aaron and Tyrese couldn't have worked. I'm like, well, I think they could have to an extent, as well as CJ and Dame worked. I feel like De'Aaron and Tyrese could have worked. I'm not saying that they're to that level, but I feel like it could have worked better than trading him. And also I just I also said that I think that they should have traded De'Aaron before they traded Tyrese, but they're both great. I think De'Aaron probably gets more hate than he deserves, but they're both great. But obviously Tyrese is this odd transcendent type of player. It's weird. The shooting, the passing, being 6'5", 6'6", and then the floater, the soft touch around he's weird. And his jumper is disgusting, and it works. He had a crazy stretch the other day to close out a game against I think it was Orlando or something. I don't know.
Jordan Clarkson. Rudy Gobert is the best defensive center in the last 10 years with 3 Defensive Player of the Year.
Who is it?
Rudy Gobert is the best defensive center in the last 10 years with 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards to show for it. Rudy's nickname is the Stifle Tower due to his unique ability to stay glued both to the roller and the ball handler in the pick and roll, with his insane length and unbelievable mobility in a 7'2" frame. However, the Jazz had such a horrible...
Shout out to Anthony Edwards. Thank you, Jetpack M, my dog. How many months is that for you? 5 months? 5 months? What's it called? I saw this quote from Anthony Edwards saying, I really like small ball lineups. And I thought that was pretty funny because they just traded to making the biggest lineup in the NBA. Who you got for most improved player? Probably one of them 2 dudes on the Spurs, Keldon or Devin Vassell. If I had to think about anybody else, because Ja won it last year, we already knew who Ja was. Nobody's predicting, you could predict Ja to win it, but you know what I'm saying? Anybody else? I'd have to think. I don't know. Who would you have? Sexton? Sexton's a good one, but he already averaged 23. He would be a better comeback player because I don't think he's an average more than 23 or not more than. He might average more. He is coming off the bench right now. I think they're trying to ease him back into NBA ball. McDaniels, yeah. Which one? Tyrese. Oh, Tyrese might. Yeah, Tyrese is a good one.
Even made Rudy Gobert
He's cooking crazy recently.
People questioning his defensive brilliance.
Yesterday, I said Tyrese would get more, in a little entry. You know, what I'm saying a price. But I said Tyrese would get more than 19.5 points, and I said that DeRozan would get less than 24.5. DeRozan got 25 and Tyrese got 19 exactly. Pissed me off. It was the only two things I missed on. Pissed me off because I'm nice with those.
This is unfair to Gobert because Utah was leaking like a Titanic after the iceberg hit, and Rudy couldn't do anything to make them stay afloat. Jazz's guards and wings couldn't guard anybody one-on-one, and opposing players would often get past them like they were high school kids. Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell, and to an extent, Bojan Bogdanovic were all to blame for Utah's defensive nightmares. A simple ball swing, screen, or crossover would completely discombobulate Utah's defense, which would leave Gobert to choose whether to give up an open dunk or an open three-pointer. Rudy naturally chose to close out the paint and prevent the dunk, and that resulted in
Simons is a
making
great one.
17 uncontested threes in Game 2 of the playoffs, which was an NBA record. Then, without Gobert in the lineup, Utah's defense went from mediocre to historically terrible. We chose Clarkson as the main guy to blame, but it could have easily been Donovan Mitchell as well. Spider is a superstar and has all the physical tools to be at least a good defender, and he really underperforms on that end of the floor. Jalen Green. Jalen Green is one of the brightest young prospects in the NBA. He was the second pick in the 2021 NBA draft, and he averaged 17 points per game as a rookie, which is nothing to be mad about. With electrifying athleticism and one of the quickest first steps in the NBA, Green can get past almost any defender and has proven to be a decent shooter as well. However, Jalen has a bit of tunnel vision when he gets the ball and is far from a good passer. But if his scoring is the good and his passing is the bad, his defense is definitely the ugly. Green is thin and is easily outmuscled by every wing and most guards. His court awareness, understanding, and execution of defensive assignments are catastrophic, and he often looks lost on that end of the court. In 2022, Houston's rookie had the worst defensive rating in the entire league, and it was the second worst since the 2022 NBA worst defensive rating in the entire league, and it was the second worst since the 2022 NBA merger for players logging more than 2,000 minutes. Opponents made 54% of their shots when guarded by Jalen, 8% more than their average, which was again the worst mark in the NBA. But we understand that he is a rookie and that he played on a young Rockets team that was tanking with the second worst defensive rating.
Probably felt like going at him too.
Green is extremely talented. He will bulk up and gain experience. Because he and the Rockets were so terrible defensively, there is nowhere to go but up. Kemba Walker.
Oh, we'll get back to Kemba Walker. Holy hell, that's a Nick. Yes, you can name him. But Jalen Green, I feel like it's kind of like that Michael Porter Jr. like tree of just buckets. And yeah. But Jalen Green, I mean, yeah. Speaking of Michael Porter Jr., thinking of Nuggets players, I don't know if I could upload this, but we gotta watch Bol Bol. Bol Bol, I watched the whole game. Bol Bol had his greatest game ever yesterday against my team. So I got to witness the entire thing with Clyde Frazier's commentary, and it was beautiful. And we still won because it's the Magic. Bol Bol was cooking us. He had 19 points, 4 blocks, I think, on 8 for 10 or something. He was cooking.
Kemba Walker was not a good defender in his prime. He's only 6 feet tall, and at 180 pounds, he could never really contain anybody. Now, after multiple knee injuries and decreased mobility, he's nearly unplayable because of his horrendous defense. Kemba is only 32 years old and was an all-star in 2020. But in 2022,
I don't know about only 32. A lot of players fall off by that age.
Repeat that. By the Knicks, who are not a synonym for winning. Walker will spend the last year of his contract in Detroit, and we're afraid that he'll suffer the same fate as Isaiah Thomas. IT is another small guard who lost his place in the NBA after injuries took away his mobility and further exposed his deficiencies on defense. Other small guards who can be mentioned as defensive liabilities are DJ Augustine, Patty Mills, Bryn Forbes, and Seth Curry. Anthony Simons. According to almost all advanced defensive stats, such as the defensive box plus minus, regularized adjusted plus minus,
like every player I like
in
sucks at defense.
Anthony Simons was the worst defensive player in the NBA. He ranks at the bottom of the league in all these metrics, and the eye test confirms it. Simons is on the smaller side of NBA point guards with a slender frame that doesn't provide much resistance to dribble penetration. Portland's coaches usually hide him on defense by putting him to guard the corner 3, but even then, Simons is often just watching the action and isn't glued to his man. Still, the young guard had an offensive explosion last season, and the Blazers offered him a $100 million extension. That means most backcourt minutes in 2023 will be shared by Anthony and Damian Lillard, who was never a good defensive player. But the Blazers realized this too, so they brought in athletic wings like Gary Payton and Jeremy Grant. In 2022, Portland had the worst defense in the NBA, and their biggest improvement has to come on that end of the floor, starting with more effort from Simons and Lillard. Davis Bertans. Since he came
my
to the
God.
league in 2016, Davis Bertans has been one of the best shooting big men in the NBA. Shooting is what kept him on the floor and secured him a nice contract with the Wizards, but he's definitely a liability on the other end of the floor. Bertans is tall, but he's not particularly strong and can be easily bullied by stronger players.
Latvian brother
has very poor reaction times and often loses track of the guy he's supposed to defend. Davis's feet are slow and his closeouts are reaction times and often loses track of the guy.
Yo, I swear to God, wait, does Davis wear 42 too? I thought that was him right there. I thought he was Maxi. Yes, I thought he was Maxi Cleaver.
Which leaves players open for three.
Because he got traded to the Mavericks.
Wondering, why is he earning $16 million per season? Thomas Bryant. At 6'10" and 250 pounds with a 7'5" wingspan, Thomas Bryant has the perfect size and length for a modern big man. But his presence as a rim protector, rebounder,
that was a Kendrick Perkins drive. I'm sorry.
Modern big man. But his presence as a rim protector, rebounder, and interior anchor is rarely felt. The new Lakers center is what is known as an offensive center. He's capable of producing buckets, and his 60% shooting from the field makes him a solid pickup in fantasy basketball. But in real life, he's a black hole defensively.
Has he even playing?
To guard the rim, playing help D, boxing out, or containing pick and roll. After he tore his ACL in January 2021, the Wizards center played just 27 games in the 2022 season, and his defense has dipped even more. The Lakers signed him to provide an offensive punch off the bench. But even though they have a Bryant on the team, Thomas is not Kobe. And Lakers fans shouldn't get their hopes up. Buddy Hield has the worst defensive rating in NBA history. However, defensive rating as a metric is not the best indicator of defensive prowess because it heavily depends on the teammates that share the court with you. If prime Michael Jordan played NBA basketball with Kevin Hart and Tom Cruise as his teammates, guess what? Their team
random shot at Kevin Hart, 3-time
MJ would have a
celebrity game
MVP.
Hello,
because he shared his minutes with 5-foot-tall actors. NBA offenses are at an all-time high in efficiency. Offensive players are more protected than ever, and it's really hard to play good defense, but it's even harder to measure it on an individual level. In 2018, ESPN's Real Plus Minus ranked Brook Lopez as the worst defensive center in the league. 2 seasons later, playing for a new team with a new coach and different defensive scheme, Lopez ranked 3rd in the NBA by the same metric. He was also named to an all-defensive team and helped the Bucks post one of the stingiest defensive marks in league history. Basketball is a team game, and
he's a brick down there. That's what Brook is.
Matchups, understanding coverages, and communication. So the dirty secret is that no statistic can properly measure good defense. Take Dennis Rodman, who was one of the best defenders in NBA history, a guy who was a maniac in disrupting offenses, who fought for position with teeth and nails, and who stopped dribble penetration better than anyone in his prime. That Dennis Rodman averages less than 1 steal and 1 block per game. Allen Iverson led the league in steals 3 times, but it's because he gambled and hunted down steals by jumping into passing lanes. When he was successful, it was great. But more often than
just
not,
like me on
Iverson's
2K.
gamble would not pay off. It would leave a giant hole in the defense that usually led to an easy bucket. Both traditional and advanced stats can give us insight into a defensive output, but certainly
it's like how Hassan got 10 blocks 40 times and wasn't really great at defense.
Now that we established that it's hard to measure defensive impact, let's get back
to
Buddy
not get signed
who was not the worst defender in NBA history. Buddy is not a great defensive stopper by any means. Let's get that out of the way. While he is decent at defending the three-point line, Hield routinely allows his man to get past him on the perimeter for a straight line to the basket and easy points. However, it's hard to say, measure, or quantify that Buddy or anyone else is the worst defensive player ever. But we feel that this list is pretty objective and filled with players that make defenses leak. Let us.
What? That was actually a pretty solid list. Anybody that we thought should have been on there that wasn't? I don't know. I'm cool. Yeah, that wasn't bad. I can't think of a. I'm not good at thinking of defensive players that bad. Especially that's just hating. I don't hate personally. I've never hated before. Yeah, that's a good video.